Welcome to Wales. Here I am sitting on this lovely old park bench at a place called The Wharf. It's a really, really special venue. Not the first time I've been here, it's actually my third trip now. I first heard about The Wharf, probably about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and immediately got my attention, mainly because of the impressive fish that have been caught from here. It's situated in Cardiff in Wales. It's around 30 acres in size, and it truly is a concrete jungle. I first started to notice things about it in carp talk. I started to see some fish appearing, big commons, big grassies, beautiful mirrors, and started to do a little bit of research, and eventually got hold of a guy called Andrew, and we got chatting, and he said, you've got to come and have a look, you've got to come down and have a fish. And I was itching, absolutely buzzing to get down here and have a go. Never done any fishing in Wales before, and it's not the first place you associate with going carp fishing, but wow, what a special place. My first session was back in October, I think, last year. I was actually working over at Horseshoe Lake. I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go and pull off and I'm going to shoot over to Wales. And I literally come over here for a quick overnighter. So I remember that first walk down and I saw the lake for the first time, and Andrew sort of smiled at me, he says, there's some fish out in front of us, and literally one just rolled. Come on. Got the gear sorted, popped into the Holiday Inn. They very kindly gave me a code to park the car and a Wi-Fi code. Really, really lovely people. And we got about our fishing. Been such a short session, I needed to act quick, so it was a case of getting the rods out, getting a spawn rod out, and putting a bit of bait out. The lake is a rectangular in design, and we've sort of plotted up in the middle of the lake, which gave us a good vantage point left and right, but luckily enough there was already some fish out in front of us. So yeah, spawn rod out, found a nice clear area with a bare lead, and just put in about 10 spawns of bait. And yeah, we sat chatting into the early hours, and it was quite quiet. The fish carried on showing, but got my head down, and then the liner started. And I just knew something was going to happen. Anyway, first up was Andrew. He caught the most incredible common. It looked brand new. Yeah, awesome fish, mid-20, that sort of size. And not long after, he lost a big mirror at the net. Really gutted for him. And yeah, I think about 4 o'clock in the morning, I had my first bite. Lost it. Again, slipped the hook. And not too long after that, just before light, I managed to bank one. And it was a character, to say the least. It was a fish that's actually named. There's not many in here that have got names, but this one has managed to acquire a name over the years, and it was called the Mutant. It was all bent and crooked, and big fins, little fins, big eye, little eye. It was just a mutant. But I was so happy to have caught a fish from a place like this. So yeah, absolutely made out. Big up the Wharf, big up Wales. Guarantee I'll be back.
Brilliant. Bring it on.
Bring it on. And I was itching to get back down there. I wanted another go. And this time, I think it was around December, weather was a lot colder. Arrived at the lake, just again on dark, and boy was there a storm kicking up. Shot back to the van. It's rare for me to do this, but I got the Titan out. It was a case of a good vantage point, middle of the lake, get a little bit of bait out there and see if we could pull something to us. A lad called Jason come down this time, top angler. He come down to fish with us, so there was 3 of us. And Ollie rocked up at about, I don't know, 1:32 in the morning. I was well asleep by the time he got here. And he sort of shot further down from where we were fishing, decided to flick a couple of rods at himself. And I don't know what happened, he must have not felt felt a good drop or something, but decided to reel it in and have another cast. And in the process of doing that, he actually picked Jason's lineup. You know, it was me, Andrew, Jason, and then Ollie had gone a lot further down. But Jason, the good angler he is, he'd fished a long rod right down into the sort of shallower, weedier part of the lake, and Ollie had picked up one of his lines. So yeah, Jason's and Ollie's first encounter was at about 2:30 in the morning, where Jason sort of looked at him like, who is this geezer? Just turned up, cast over my lines, and Ollie's like, hiya mate. Like, anyway, they got on like a house in fire, and actually they sat out most of the night taking photos and chatting and stuff. Anyway, morning come round, Storm Katie or Katrina or whatever had passed by, and it calmed down a little bit. The sun had come out, which is quite rare for this place actually. Saying that, it is glorious at the moment. Fingers crossed it can stay like that till we finish this, but just seen a fish show actually. Just seen one gone over. Yeah, so the sun come up and we sort of all convened together and the brews got made, and yeah, it was really nice. We were all chatting and socialising and stuff. And out of nowhere, Ollie's rod melted off, and I mean melted. Whee! We've all got a fresh brew in our hands, there's tea going everywhere and coffee going everywhere, and we've legged it down to his rods, and he was in.
Come on.
Morning!
What's your most fun?
What time did he turn up?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock!
Cast over one of my rods. Put a rod on back on the spot. Fish on.
But yeah, it's a glorious morning in Cardiff. Weather's a little bit bitter as you'd expect for December, but the sun's come out and it looks like the fish come out to play with it.
Come on.
Yeah, he played it in, and it did something that these fish have a real tendency of doing, and that is slipping the hook. It's rare that I lose a fish, you know, good hook hold, nice heavy lead. You seem to nail them and they don't often fall off, but there's something about this place.
It was the white one.
Oh.
Size 5. Just fell out there.
And we were so deflated, everyone was just like, oh no. Must point out though that Jace, he had nicked a couple of bites. I think he'd had 2 or 3 bites that first night, and that was through sheer hard work. That was staying up, that was watching the water. If he was seeing a show, he's recasting to it, you know, very, very active angling, staying on top of the fish and trying to keep catching them. Me on the other hand, I was struggling, you know, not had a bite. Ollie had lost that one, and it was time to do something about it, you know. So off I went, started having a big look, a good look around, and I come down to where we are now actually, this part of the lake, you know, one of the ends. And I weren't here long, I stood here and one went over. Okay, it's a brilliant sign.
Eel.
And another one. Morning. You're right. And another one. That'll do. Ran back up there, undrilled the Titan from the pavement, packed it all away and shot down here. And yeah, kept it simple, no bait this time because they were in the area. I knew there was a few fish there. Bang choddy, bang choddy. It weren't long, got the Titan repositioned. Big Al, our sales rep, come down with a KFC. Again, there's a bit of a pattern going on there because he came down yesterday with a KFC, so I love whales, man. Off it went, whee! Absolute melter. Played the fish in. You know, getting that first bite of a session is always really nerve-wracking, you know, so quite gentle with it, coaxing it in, and I landed it. I revealed this awesome common, and again it was no monster, but they don't need to be, you know, when you're fishing something like this. Buzzing, absolutely buzzing.
Belter.
It is a belter. This is the terminology in Wales. An absolute belter. In Cardiff, down at the wharf, with all the lads. Jace has nicked a couple of fish, Ollie lost one, and I finally got one myself.
Nope.
Bando, keeping an eye on the sea.
Everyone.
Yeah, kind of getting
timer.
Sometimes wishes come true.
Randall.
Let's go. Come on then. Oh my God.
Result, Al?
Yeah, result, mate. Chuffed. Not been in here very long. Couple of hours at the most, and yeah, had a bite. So now I'm really full of confidence. Game plan for the next sort of 12 hours or the night is I'm going to bait an area. I found an area, 15.5 wraps. I'm wrapping around these poles in front of me, and I've probably made best part of 30 casts since I've been here, and it's always going down in soft silt. But I found an area that feels quite a bit different. Still got a good depth of water, about 10 foot, so I'm actually going to put a bit of bait out there in a little while. But where I'm actually seeing the fish showing, I'm gonna stick to a singles approach. That particular fish then just come on a single. I'm not going to disturb the area with lots of casting, trying to find particular spots. I'm just going to get a drop and leave it. I'm not even going to put any freebies around it. But yeah, the fish I've just had, it has done my rigging. I was fishing a blowout rig. I was lazy last night. I put a bit of silicone on here, and typically with silicone it's ripped off. So I go back to what I know now and put a little piece of actual rig tubing on there, and the point's gone over. So I'm going to quickly whip up a new rig. I want to get it out there quite quickly. It would have been nice if I'd had a few tied up, but
Yeah, that's slacking now.
it is slacking, mate. I'll tell you what it is, because of last night in the big wind, I decided not to use Armour Link. I've pretty much used Armour Link all year for my bottom bait rig fishing. I absolutely love it. But because it was so windy last night, it was dark, I wouldn't be able to see the rig travelling out. I like to be able to watch the rig and ensure that it's not wrapping around on the cast. So I've opted to use Combi Link, and that's why I haven't got any tied up. You know, the Combi Link's got a coating on it, and it does help a little bit, especially when I can't see and it's very, very windy, to prevent tangles. So yeah, stripping off a bit of the coating. Get a loop in there. You know, it's all the time in carp fishing. In any fishing, you need to be looking at things, not necessarily always the water where the fish are, but sometimes other anglers. So watching Jace with his two fish this morning, one thing that was very, very apparent was the small mouths they had. Now, a lot of anglers would see that as a potential advantage and opt to use a really big bait to, you know, avoid catching those smaller doubles. Not me, mate. I'm game for a double. I'm chuffed I had that one. It was probably sort of 14, 15 pounds. And yeah, I'll quite happily keep catching those with the hope of maybe a better fish. Yeah, bait choice therefore is important. Not bait choice as such, but the size of the bait. So, you know, I'm going to be fishing tiny little pop-ups, 10mm pop-ups, and also just straight 15mm bottom baits. You know, last night I fished a 20mm TG Culture. Really confident, because previously, you know, the fish I had was on a cultured hook bait, but having seen Jace with those two fish this morning, and the one I've caught, little mouths, I'm going to go in with nice small baits. The small mouthing usually means they're feeding a lot into silt, and that will make sense on the water like this. As I said, every time I'm casting out, I'm getting a drop and it is going into silt. Size 8 twister. Set the length of the hair I want, around 15mm long, leaving a little bit on the bend. And just whip that on. It's not a particularly stiff coated braid. You know, there is plenty of movement there when it goes into the fish's mouth, but it just helps with tangles. And I'll just whack that over the kettle, give it a steam off and get it nice and straight.
How's your stove, Al?
Not very well. It's poorly. Yeah, basically it's supposed to shoot out a nice jet of flames, but instead it's flaming.
It's like a Bunsen burner.
Bunsen burner. Those were the days. Straight through the nice big loop. No messing about with link clips or hook link tails or Dead simple. Lovely. The night passed uneventful again for me and for Ollie and for Andrew. None of us managed to nick another bite. Jace, on the other hand, he kept at it, kept the bait going in, and I think by the following morning he had another 2 or 3 bites. Again, absolute stunners, you know, some commons, some mirrors.
Hard fighting mirror. Lovely war fish.
Top man.
Made up with this one.
Yeah, mate. Beautiful. Yeah, it's well done, mate. Nice one.
I think they call him down here the Assassin, and it's a good name for him, man. He's proper like sneaking about that. These flats up here, he's getting right up in the top of the flats and getting a better vantage point. Yeah, the Assassin.
Beautiful.
Stunning common.
Had a good weekend, didn't you?
Last fish of the session, mate. Considering the conditions, I think the lake's been kind to us, mate.
Well, what an awesome end to the last 36 hours. You've proper smashed them up, Jace. You've done well, mate.
Yeah, well done, Jace.
Good job, boys.
Excellent.
Cheers, boys. Till next time, boys.
So all too soon it was over and it was time for us to get on the way and head back down south again. So we bid the lads farewell and the locals, you know, all the locals were so friendly, and it was time to head home. And that brings me up to where we are now, sitting here on this bench at the wharf. I had to come back, you know, it's May now. I let the winter pass, early spring pass. I thought, you know what, I'm coming up here and I'm gonna fish it on my terms. I'm gonna wait for some good weather, I'm gonna do my stalking, I'm gonna get some floaters out there.
You need a receipt?
Yeah, please.
Oh,
cheers, thank you. And all the gear was prepared, all the floaters were ready. You know, I was bang on ready for it. And then the weather turned. Bad. Yeah, as I say, I arrived a couple of nights ago and parked the motor with Ollie. We come up together this time, which was nice. We could chat in the motor on the way up rather than taking 2 vehicles. Pulled into a little industrial area where we could park. And took a wander down. Now, we had every intention of the world, the same as I would on any session, of doing a couple of laps. You know, it's 30 acres, it's 1.25 miles, I think, all the way around. So you take a bit of time, you know, going around looking at it all. And that was the plan. But when you walk to the first bit of water, and one shows, short, and another one shows, and another, we both looked at each other like, you know, we're not being lazy, but really, do we need to walk around? We parked the motor here in the residential area, walked down 100 yards to the lake, and just like that, bosh. And bosh. And bosh, 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 bosh. Anyway, I'm getting set up. Chucking it down. Welcome to Wales. So, managed to get the rods out, and then it started raining. And when I say rain, I mean proper rain. It rained, and it rained, and it rained. Well, it rained for 12 hours, non-stop. That was the first break, 12 o'clock the following day. On, and I'd done the hard part. You know, I was fishing over the back of a big bank of weed. I sort of got it through the weed and got it over the top of it, and I got it in the edge, you know. I was close, I was real close, and then it done that same wharf thing of slipping the hook. it is what it is. It's fishing, you know. Started raining about 12 o'clock last night, and it's just coming up to midday the following day. And at last we've had a bit of a break in the weather. Caught this one a couple of hours ago, lost one a little while afterwards, but yeah, managed to get a bite, so absolutely buzzing. As I say, there's a bit of a break now. We get this absolute stunner slip back, golf in search of some more fish. Need a bit of sunshine really to be able to find them, but I'm gonna give it a good go. Packed all the gear away, decided, you know, get it all in the van and just travel light. And off I went, round and round the lake, looking for opportunities. There's a mad, crazy canal system that goes around this area. I think eventually it goes into Cardiff and under Cardiff itself, like underground, and then comes back up and the Taff comes into it and stuff. It's a really incredible system. So I wandered around that and lo and behold, I found a few fish. Quickly got the stalking rod and whipped a bit of bread on, lowered it in, and Ollie didn't even have time to get a camera out. It was all very, very fast.
Well, I missed a bite. Too slow.
Yeah, super fast bite. Yeah, just crept up the canal. We're on our way to see Andrews fishing down the bottom end of the wharf. Couple of fish milling around up here. Very simple tactics. Line, hook, rod, bread. Lowered it down and almost instantly it dropped down, snuffled its way towards it and yeah, engulfed in the bread. Dead simple fishing. Lovely, lovely dark common.
Yeah, that'll do.
Cracker.
Nice one.
Go on, Wales.
Yeah, I was a bit slow getting a bite, but well done,
Got it in
mate.
the net.
Got it in the net.
Right result.
Greasy bonus.
Absolutely. Just on our way around and see him creeping about in the edge. Nailed. Very, very quick bite, very, very exciting. And yeah, got a little bit more to wander. Might see another one, never know. Thank you, Mr. Carp. Thank you, Wales.
You could put him in the oven with nice potatoes and
Oh, they
onions.
don't taste so nice.
No?
Well, they might do, but a bit of sea bass is a lot better. See ya, bye-bye.
Oh, there's another one there.
Yeah, there's a few. Give it another half an hour, it just wasn't going to happen. So we came back round to where we fished the previous night. Didn't really have a lot to go on. There was a few fish up by Andrew, but nothing that made me want to rush up there and do the night up there. The plan was get our heads down, get some sleep, but get up nice and early in the morning and do some stalking. And the rain didn't go away. It rained all through the night. The fish didn't turn up, they didn't show. They didn't show this morning, and none of us caught anything. In fact, the rain was so bad and we were all so wet. Ollie actually done the night in the van. I nearly done it with him, to be honest. Nearly snuggled up on the back seats, to be honest. I was so cold. Done 2 sets of waterproofs, 2 sets of joggers and hoodies. You know, I had no socks left. I've literally been soaking wet from the moment I got here. Yeah, as I say, the night passed uneventful and we went off stalking again. And and it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. Just wasn't meant to be. One of them was a fully scaled, one of them was fully about 18 pounds. It is what it is. I love it still. It's so exciting, creeping around in the morning, looking for fish and stuff. And that brings us up to about now, really. Through the gear, we're back in the motor, and I've come down here for the last couple of hours. I'm going to give it till about lunchtime. I've seen a gnarly old mirror sort of milling around on this sort of gravelly clay area, so I've got a rod over there for him and a couple of choddies. I've seen one show probably about 20 minutes ago. Give it a go. You never know. The sun's out now. If I could have one wish, it would be I'd just arrived now, you know, and I had the next couple of days in these sorts of conditions to drift riser pellet across the lake and try and get them feeding. But that's life, that's fishing.
For the third time, I found myself packing away after another tricky session on the wharf. Yes, it had been a struggle, but I'd enjoyed every second of it. Although I seem to rarely visit a water more than once, I did find myself contemplating another session in Cardiff in the future, but not before I tick another city off the list. London, here we come.